4, 3.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to the Municipality of Thames Centre's regular council meeting, Wednesday, May 26, 2021, 5 p.m. I trust everyone had an excellent long weekend. It was lovely weather, and we sure needed that nice weather to relax in. At this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda?
There are no additions.
Thank you. And now I'd like to ask for a disclosure of pecuniary interest. Councillor Hunter? Just Paul, maybe unmute yourself because I'm really good at lip reading, but not that good.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay, Your Worship, I have 3 this evening, starting with agenda item 5.1. It's a minor variance A11/21 for the agenda dated May 26, 2021. Reasons: I am an affected landowner. The property is directly across the street from mine. The second item is 6.1, consent application 8/21. I conduct business with the applicant. And item 6.2, consent application B9/21. I conduct business with the landowner whose property is being enlarged as a result of this consent.
Okay, and thank you. And I see Councillor Patterson. I just want to double check before I go ahead. Did you have any additions to the agenda? Okay, and
I have no additions, sorry.
okay, and any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
None at this time.
Okay, thank you. Announcements, any announcements? I think maybe we should be talking about the vaccination clinic. Maybe Deputy Mayor Elliott, you could fill us in on that.
Yep, through Your Worship, Middlesex Land and Health Unit is hosting a vaccination clinic here in Thames Centre this coming Friday and Saturday. It was announced last week, and within 24 hours, the appointments, which were 400 appointments, were fully booked. I anticipate being that Middlesex Land and Health Unit had advised us that depending on the success of the clinic here in Thames Centre would be if they would extend the clinics further in the county as well as Thames Centre again. And so my hopes are being that since this has proven to be successful, we can see clinics in the future again here in Thames Centre.
Thank you. And also, I think in addition to that, something to be noted is that the county is offering transportation to clinics for people that are vulnerable or unable to get a ride any other way. So there is contact information for that on the Middlesex County site. So we're happy to be part of that program. All right, now I'd like to go ahead and ask Council to adjourn its regular meeting in order to sit as the Committee of Adjustment under the Planning Act. Can I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Elliott, second by Councillor Heeman. All in favor? Okay. And our first hearing for public hearing for a minor variance application A1121, and just going to double check this. The purpose of this hearing is to consider an application for a minor variance as submitted by the applicant, who is Dwayne Summerhays, and the location of the property is 5661 Marion Street. So I would like the planning director to provide an overview of the application.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this application, its purpose is to allow the expansion of a legal non-conforming use in the form of an existing residential use to permit the construction of a detached accessory building, a detached garage, which is otherwise prohibited. In terms of background, the subject property, it's a 10-acre lot located on the south side of Marion Street and just west of Elgin Road. And these lands are designated protection area under the official plan. And they're also zoned environmental protection EP. This property is affected by natural heritage features in the form of woodlands and wetlands. And this property is also regulated under the Conservation Authorities Act. This property contains a single detached dwelling, which is serviced privately by a well and a septic system, along with a shed, both of which are located within a cleared portion of the woodlot. Mr. Summerhays is proposing to construct a detached garage with a floor area of 99 square meters and a height of 5.5 meters, which is otherwise not permitted. The EP zoning of the lands only recognizes existing uses of the property, in that property zone environmental protection are to remain in their natural state. The residential use, however, is currently grandfathered, considering the dwelling was constructed in 1999 and allowed under the previous zoning bylaw. I've conducted my analysis, Your Worship, and in dealing with the expansion of legal non-conforming uses, the Committee of Adjustment should be satisfied that the evaluation criteria has been met. Specifically, the one criterion is worth mentioning, that the proposed extension or enlargement of the established use shall not unduly aggravate the situation created by the existence of the use in regards to the policies of the plan and the requirements of the zoning bylaw. So the answer to that criterion is the protection area designation and the EP zoning are intended to protect natural heritage features and to prohibit future development, including the construction of the detached garage that's proposed. Notwithstanding that, the protection area policies under the official plan also indicate that development and site alteration may be allowed where an environmental impact study demonstrates that there'll be no negative impacts on the natural heritage features and their sustainable ecological or hydrologic function. So considering the detached garage is to be located in a clearing of the woodlot in proximity to the existing dwelling, a scoped environmental impact study would be appropriate considering the potential environmental impacts would appear to be minimal. At the same time, it's important to note, Your Worship, that through the circulation of the subject application, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority has waived the need for an environmental impact study, considering the location of the proposed building envelope. But at the same time, the municipality's official plan policies governing the need for an EIS or environmental impact study are not discretionary when development is proposed within a natural heritage feature, which is this case. And going through the list for the evaluation criteria, Your Worship, I'm satisfied that all the other criteria has been met. The official plan also adds that these types of requests should be also evaluated against the 4 tests under the Planning Act, which are also used to evaluate minor variance applications. As noted in my report, Your Worship, I'm satisfied that all those tests have been met or are capable of being met through a condition of a variance requiring the need for a scoped environmental impact study. In terms of comments received from an agency perspective, we have no issues that were identified by the county engineer, the drainage superintendent, our director of public works, and our chief building official. Also, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, they've mentioned no objection, and they have confirmed that an environmental impact study is not required to allow the construction of the proposed garage. In terms of public comments, I have not received any comments to date. So it's my recommendation, Your Worship, that the variance application be approved, subject to the condition noted in my report requiring the need for a scoped environmental impact study, and also subject to the reasons outlined in my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bancroft. Now, Alan, do we have the applicant or online?
Yes, Your Worship. Dwayne Summerhays is coming through.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, it's Dwayne.
Hey, Dwayne, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Perfect. And at this time, I'm going to ask you if there's any additional information you'd like to provide.
Absolutely. Just let me apologize. Our internet is not so
Welcome.
great in the country, so hopefully.
Welcome to the club. Yeah.
Okay. I just like to thank everybody for their time. And this is an interesting way to approach these problems. It's very interesting. I appreciate it. I just wanted to mention from a layperson's perspective that I don't really understand why there's conflict between the plan and Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. It's always been my opinion that they are the experts, and if I can get, they had boots on the ground. They actually came out, we asked for them to come out and inspect. We had Upper Thames and we actually had conservation out as well. We had two different offices come out to, like I say, have boots on the ground and actually physically see the features. And I am of the hope and the opinion that their opinion would trump an official plan that may possibly be a bit of a whitewash or just a broad stroke type of brush, saying that every one of these applications needs an EIS, scoped or otherwise. It adds a lot of cost, it adds a lot of time, and as just a little guy here, we hope to not to have that EIS at all, and really relying on Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, their respected opinion, and move forward without such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
The garage is going in what they called a disturbed area. So the area we're putting it in, there is literally one tree that would have to go. It's what they call a disturbed area. They've already very clearly stated where they would like to have it. And they call that a disturbed area already, that had been used 20 years ago, likely, when they did excavation to pull materials out. So there is no habitat there. We're also building on a very high, the highest part of the whole property. So, I know wetlands was mentioned, but that is not the case. There are no wetlands there. It is all sand. It is up very high. And that's really all I had. I just really wanted to defer to their recommendation and hope that we can move forward without the EIS.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Summerhays. And I must congratulate you. It is a beautiful part of Thames Center that you're proposing to put this garage in. So it's a lovely location. But I'm
If
just
people
wondering.
don't know, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm just going to say we've lived in Thames Center for 15 years, so we're not
Yep.
just moving here. We've been here a long, long time. We've had a small business. I was really enjoying your beekeeping stories, Mr. Heeman. That is hilarious. We also keep bees. We have a few colonies out here, and we hope to move some bees there as well because it's agricultural. But yes, I really enjoyed the bee stories.
No, we perfectly know that you've been a big supporter of small business in Thames Center for a long time. So congratulations on your move to Marion Street. I just want to just get the planning director just to comment why we have this requirement. And I think Upper Thames is usually a little bit more stringent, but I think that both of you, we work hand in hand with the Conservation Authority. So
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I have a couple of comments to add. Number one, we don't have the expertise on staff dealing with the evaluation of issues pertaining to natural hazard, natural heritage features. So we rely on the expertise of the Conservation Authority. The second point is it's not unusual, in my professional opinion, to have language in an official plan which waives the need for an EIS to be conducted if it is to the satisfaction of the municipality and the Conservation Authority, if they are both on side to waive the need for an EIS. I can think of a couple of examples of other lower tier municipalities in Middlesex County that have language to that effect. But simply put, as it relates to Thames Centre's official plan, we do not have that discretionary language. And hence, I am recommending the need for a scoped EIS as a condition of the variance.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any members from the public in attendance who wish to provide comment?
No, your worship.
Thank you. Any committee members have any questions regarding the application? Councillor Patterson?
Yes, Mayor Warwick. They're asking for a floor area of 99 square meters. How is that different than what's allowed currently? What's the increase or decrease?
Through you, your worship, this is not a typical minor variance application regarding a request to build an accessory building. Because of the environmental protection zoning of the property, any accessory building is not permitted, hence the need for this approval. So we're not dealing with the size of the building per se. It is the fact that a request is being brought forward to construct, which is otherwise not permitted.
Patterson. Go ahead, Councillor Patterson. Councillor Patterson, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Warwick. So to Mayor Warwick, according to the report, it's accessory to a residential use. Is that correct, or is this a commercial use?
Through you, your worship, this building is to be accessory to a residential use in the form of a detached garage.
Okay, any other committee members have any questions? Councillor Heeman?
Yeah, so I'm just seeking clarification that because of the official plans prescription that we don't have any viable alternatives to make this a little bit more accessible. That's the prescriptive requirement, that there's no alternative. And I understand why it would be a reasonable assumption, because we do want to have some sort of deterrence to preserve our natural heritage features. And I just want to clarify that that's absolutely required at this time.
Mr. Bancroft?
Yes, thank you. Through your worship. Simply put, my hands are tied in that my role is to interpret these policies and regulations, and to provide a recommendation for council's consideration. I've indicated that there's no leeway in terms of the language in the official plan. However, some other municipalities have leeway included in their policy wording and their local OPs. Again, Upper Thames has indicated further to Mr. Summerhays, they went and conducted a site visit, and they were satisfied that there was no need for an EIS, considering the building is to be located within an existing clearing on the property. I really have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Heeman? Okay. All right, so, Councillor Patterson, go ahead.
Yeah, I would move that we approve application for minor variance A11-21 submitted by Dwayne Summerhays be approved.
Just want to make sure, because that's step 7. We're still on step 6. So we've finished. Any other questions regarding this application? Okay, so now we have time to make the decision. It looks like Councillor Patterson has made a recommendation. Do we have a seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Heeman? Okay. And all in favor?
Oh, can I ask a clarification?
Absolutely, yeah.
Is the motion with the condition or without the condition?
I said that it be approved without the conditions.
Without the condition? So are you, okay, just Councillor Patterson, you're muted. So I just want to clarify, are you making the recommendation as it's written from the planner? Okay, and Councillor Patterson, you're still muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, you're good
Okay.
now.
Okay, this is so confusing. All right,
No
so
problem.
I make the recommendation that application for minor variance A11-21 submitted by Dwayne Hummerzays be approved.
As written on the, as written. With no conditions, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I didn't say subject to any conditions.
Okay, so we have a seconder? Or no?
I'd like to second that motion, but I can't put us in conflict with the official plan.
Okay.
I would like to, but again, once we go against our own bylaws, then we're kind of.
Okay. So, Tom, you did second it. So what I'll do is I'll call the vote, okay? And then you can make your decision when we call the vote. Okay, so as the motion is presented by Councillor Patterson, without the conditions listed by the planning director, who is in favor? Councillor Patterson, okay, thank you. Against? Okay. All right, so that motion fails. Now, would somebody else like to put another motion on the table? Deputy Mayor Elliott.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. I will move that the application for minor variance A11-21 submitted by Dwayne Hayes, to permit the expansion of the legal non-conforming use through the construction of a detached garage, my goodness, accessory to a residential use with a floor area of 99 square meters and a height of 5.5 meters on a property known municipally as 5661 Marion Street be approved, subject to the condition that the applicant be required to retain a qualified professional to undertake a scoped environmental impact study to evaluate the impacts.
Seconder to that motion. Councillor Heeman. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion carried.
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
If it's possible that we maybe look at some of those other bylaws for our official plan review, that might give us more options in future. Because
Yeah, I think that's a good recommendation, and I know that Mr. Bancroft has a list of those as long as his arm that he's going to be looking at the official plan review.
I was going to say, through your worship, it's already on the list.
Okay, great. All right, our next minor variance is application 1221. And the purpose of this hearing is to consider an application for minor variances submitted by the applicant, which is Boardwalk at Mill Pond Partnership. The agent being Zelenka Priamo Limited, care of Casey Kulchicki, and property location is 2603 Dorchester Road. I'm going to ask the planning director to provide an overview of the application.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is an application for a minor variance to seek relief from the front yard depth and exterior side yard width requirements of the zoning bylaw to facilitate the development of townhouse dwellings. The subject property, it is just over 9 acres in size, and it's located on the south side of Boardwalk Way and on the east side of Harvest Lane and backing onto Dorchester Road. The property contains a single detached dwelling and a drive shed located at the southeast corner of the site and accessible from Dorchester Road. These lands are also designated residential under the official plan, and they are zoned site-specific residential R3-8, which does permit townhouse dwellings. As shown on the attached plan that is appended to my report, the applicant is proposing a townhouse complex consisting of 81 units. I should qualify my report that although it says 2-story dwellings, they're actually single-story dwellings that are being proposed. So apologies for that error. So access would be limited to local streets with no direct access to Dorchester Road. And specifically, the relief being sought would be for a reduction in the front yard depth and a reduction in exterior side yard width of 5.5 meters for the habitable portion of the dwelling and of 7 meters for the attached garage portion of the dwelling, compared to the required standard of 10 meters. These reduced setbacks would apply not only to the townhouse dwellings that would front onto Boardwalk Way and Harvest Lane, but would also apply to the townhouse dwellings that are to be situated within the private internal road network that would service the majority of the units. I've conducted my analysis, Your Worship, and I'm satisfied that the subject application meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act. In terms of comments received from agencies in the circulation of the application, we have no issues that were identified by the county engineer, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and our drainage superintendent. Our chief building official has noted that existing buildings and structures should be removed from the property. And finally, from the public, to date, I have not received any correspondence. So it's my recommendation, Your Worship, that the subject application be granted, subject to one condition requiring removal of existing buildings and structures, and subject to the reasons outlined in my report. That is my presentation in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bancroft. Do we have the applicant or agent here to provide any additional information?
Yes, Your Worship. Casey Kolchuk is coming through.
Okay. Two days in a row.
Yeah, back to back. Good afternoon, members of council, members of public staff. My name is Casey Kolchicki. I'm a senior planner with Zelenka Preamo Limited, representing Boardwalk or the Mill Pond at the Boardwalk on this minor variance application. I've reviewed Mark's report. We're in agreement with the recommendation. I guess the only thing that additional information that I would add is just to clarify Mark's clarification. We're working through the detailed design of the site plan, and we are actually looking at potentially bringing in a 2-story module, so offering 1 and 2 stories in this complex. So we're looking at some options on that right now. And once we make the formal site plan application, we'll have a final decision on that. But right now we're playing with both.
Okay, so we might have 2 stories. Who knows? Sounds good. And are there any members from the public in attendance who wish to provide comment?
No, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Any committee members have any questions regarding this application? Councillor Patterson?
Yes, Mayor Work. Just so I understand this is only we're not increasing the height. We're just staying with single floor residential uses, right?
3, Your Worship. The existing zoning allows single story or 2-story. So we're not dealing with building height per se. We're only dealing with the front yard depth and the exterior side yard width in terms of reductions in that regard.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Patterson. You're muted.
Yeah. So we have worked with this company here, and we've done the site plan agreement, and why is it always changing? Like, it seems like every month there's a new change all the time. So I don't understand why we keep changing over and over again. So maybe you can help me out with that, Mayor. Or
Well, I'm going to ask our planning director to comment.
Through your worship, well, first of all, the nature of land use planning in itself is not a static process, but rather a dynamic process that is subject to change and subject to following latest trends and so on and so forth. Simply put, our existing standard that we have in our zoning bylaw is quite excessive, which is 10 meters for a front yard depth and exterior side yard width. And what is being proposed by the applicant certainly is more logical in terms of having a more efficient use of land by having the building closer to the street, and also allowing better aesthetics at the end of the day in terms of having the habitable portion of the dwelling closer to the street, and then having the garage recessed. In terms of this particular standard, it does have current application in other areas of the municipality. We've done it elsewhere. And at the end of the day, it constitutes sound land use planning. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council members? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask the committee to make their decision on the application by resolution. Deputy Mayor Elliott, making the motion.
Yeah, I'll move with the one condition.
Okay, and seconder, Councillor Heeman, all in favor? Opposed? Councillor Patterson, okay. And I'm going to advise that there's a written notice of the decision will be forwarded to designated parties, and there's a 20-day appeal period. If you wish to be notified of the decision with respect to this application, you must submit a written request to the clerk. The clerk's email address is included on the online agenda. And thank you for joining us again, Mr. Kulchicki. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask council now for a resolution to adjourn the Committee of Adjustment, and we're going to convene as a public meeting under the Planning Act. Councillor Heeman, second by Councillor Hunter, all in favor? All right, the purpose of this public meeting is to consider an application for consent as submitted by the applicant, who is Robert Francis Burlott. The agent being Vicky Medeiros, Cram and Associates. The property location is the north side of Hamilton Road and the west side of Putnam Road. And I believe Councillor Hunter has declared on this one, so he'll be off the screen. And I'm going to ask the planning director to provide an overview of the application, comments received, and planning recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this application seeks to convey a vacant parcel of land to enlarge an abutting residential lot. This property, it is a 57-hectare farm parcel, and on the north side of Hamilton Road and on the west side of Putnam Road. This farm contains no buildings or structures, and the lands are designated protection area, environmental area, agricultural, and hamlet under our official plan. The lands are also zoned environmental protection EP as well as agricultural. Also, due to the proximity of the Reynolds Creek and the Thames River, these lands are also regulated under the Conservation Authorities Act. The applicant is proposing to convey a vacant parcel having an area of 0.69 acres approximately, which is to be merged in the same name and title as an adjacent residential lot known municipally as 7116 Hamilton Road. That property, it's an existing residential lot, contains a single detached dwelling serviced by a private well and septic system. The effect of this consent would result in an increase of that lot from 0.38 acres to 1 acre in size. It's also important to note that the lands to be conveyed, are wholly contained in the hamlet of Putnam, and they also back onto Reynolds Creek. I've conducted my analysis, Your Worship, and there's policy direction offered by the province, the county, as well as our local official plan, which permits these types of consents, provided that the lands being conveyed or merged in the same name and title as to which they're being added. And that certainly is the case with this example. This consent would facilitate orderly development by regularizing the shape of the lands to be enlarged. Also, the lands to be enlarged, the depth of the property would generally be consistent with the adjacent residential lot, which is also bounded by Reynolds Creek to the north. And then finally, this consent would comply with the zoning bylaw regulations. In terms of agency comments received, Your Worship, the County of Engineer is requesting standard road widening dedications in terms of across the severed and retained parcels. So 18 meters from the center line of County Road 29, which is Hamilton Road, and then 15 meters from the center line of County Road 30, which is Putnam Road, if those right-of-ways are not already to that width. No issues were identified by the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, as well as Hydro One, Bell Canada. I did receive comments from them. They have no concerns, and those comments were received subsequent to the preparation of my report. Also, no comments or no issues from our Director of Public Works and our drainage superintendent. He notes that drainage reassessments will be required and no concerns from our chief building official. Also, from Enbridge, they've noted their standard response and that any service line relocation as a result of the consent shall be at the expense of the owner. In terms of public comments, I have not received any from the public. And so it's my recommendation, Your Worship, that the application for consent be approved, subject to the 7 conditions that are noted in my report and subject to the reasons outlined in my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant or the agent offering any additional information?
Yes, Your Worship. Vicky Medeiros is coming through.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Your Worship and members of the council. My name is Vicky Medeiros, and I'm here from Kramer and Associates on behalf of Mr. Burlott. I don't have anything further to add. It's a straightforward boundary adjustment of the lot limits.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any members in the public in attendance, Alan?
No, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any council members have any comments or questions regarding this application? Councillor Patterson?
Yeah, Mayor Work, if we were to approve this consent, what are the uses of these 2 lots?
I think Mr. Bancroft, you stated that use already.
Yeah, through Your Worship, what are the existing uses associated with the property? Is that the question?
No, what would be the future uses?
So it's my understanding through Your Worship that the lands are being added to this residential lot to simply increase the size of the backyard. That is my understanding, in that there's no development proposed per se, other than to enlarge one's backyard.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Not to enlarge Bob's corn stand, is it?
If it was, I'd have to declare a conflict.
All right. Any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, I'm advised that the public meeting portion for this application has been completed and ask the council to make their decision on the application by resolution, considering all comments received. Councillor Patterson?
I'll move that consent application B8-21 for Robert Francis Brulat applicant be approved subject to the recommendation by the planner.
Thank you. Seconder? Deputy Mayor Elliott, all in favor? Okay, so I'm going to advise now that there's a written decision of, a written notice of the decision will be forwarded to designated parties, and that there's a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision. If you wish to be notified of the decision with respect to this application, you must submit a written request to the clerk, and the clerk's email address is included on the online agenda. Okay, now we're moving on to the public meeting consent application B9/21. And the purpose of this meeting is to consider an application for consent as submitted by the applicants, Brian Matthew Sider and Marina Sider, the agent, Councillor Patterson.
Did we not close the public meeting portion of this meeting? So I think we have to go back in.
Nope.
No,
No,
we're good.
we should, you know what? I'm just going to check my notes because you might have a point there.
Maybe check with the clerk. She's quick on that stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to check just to make sure.
You're
So,
okay. You closed the committee of adjustment, moved to public meeting. We're fine.
Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right. So the agent being Vicky Medeiros, Cram and Associates, the property location being 7116 Hamilton Road. And I'm going to ask the planning director to provide an overview of the applications, comments received, and planning recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this application, the subject lands include that residential lot being enlarged, the one that council just considered. So the purpose of this application is to convey a vacant parcel having an area of approximately 320 square meters to enlarge an abutting farm. So we had lands go from the abutting farm to enlarge that residential lot. Now we have a portion of that residential lot going to the abutting farm. In terms of background, the subject property, it's the residential lot on the north side of Hamilton Road. It has an area of about ½ an acre in size, and it contains a single detached dwelling serviced by a private well and a septic system. Those lands are designated hamlet under the official plan, and they're zoned environmental protection. The lands are also regulated under the Conservation Authorities Act. And these lands being conveyed, again, they would be merged with the abutting farm. And the effect of the consent would be a nominal increase to the size of that farm. I've conducted my analysis, Your Worship, and there's certainly direction offered by the provincial policy statement and the county and the municipality's official plan in allowing these types of lot addition consents, provided that these lands that are being conveyed are merged with the abutting lot, and that is being proposed here. Also, this consent would comply with the zoning bylaw requirements. In terms of agency comments from the county engineer, he's indicated his standard condition requiring a widening dedication to Middlesex County across the severed and retained parcels to a distance of 18 meters from center line of Hamilton Road, if the right of way is not already to that width. Also from Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, Hydro One, our Director of Public Works, as well as Bell Canada, no issues were identified. From Enbridge, their standard response that any service line relocation as a result of the consent shall be to the expense of the applicant. Our drainage superintendent has noted that a drainage reassessment will be required. And then lastly, from a chief building official, he's noted that the septic system for the existing house should be uncovered and location identified to ensure it remains on the same lot as the house. In terms of public comments, none have been received to date. And so it is my recommendation, Your Worship, that the application be approved, subject to the conditions noted in my report. I should add, Your Worship, that we should also include an additional condition So it would be condition 8. We've got 7 conditions noted, but an additional condition 8, which would be in regards to the request by the chief building official that confirmation be provided to the satisfaction of the chief building official that the septic system on the lands to be retained are wholly contained on those lands. So apologies for not including that in my report, but it should be included. And also that the consent be approved for the reasons outlined in my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen, do we have the applicants and the agent to provide any additional information?
Yes, Your Worship, we have Vicky here.
Oh, welcome back, Vicki.
Hello, thank you again, your worship. I don't have anything further to add. Again, it's just standard readjustment of the lot lines.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any council members have any comments or questions? Councillor Patterson?
Yes, so I understand this to be, we've moved part of the property to the middle, and then we've moved that middle part to another, to, you know, whether it's left or right, or east or west, or north or west, or north or south. I'm just trying to understand what's happening here. Maybe Mr. Bancroft can help me out here.
Through your worship, Councillor Patterson, I would suggest you go to page 29 of the agenda, which has a location map, which actually shows the little lobe, which is to be conveyed and merged with the abutting farm. And with that happening, it will assist in regularizing the shape of the residential lot at 7116 Hamilton Road, considering the rear yard of the property is being enlarged in that their easterly lot line would continue all the way back to the Reynolds Creek, which would form the rear of the property.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, council? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to advise that the public meeting portion for this application has been completed, and I'm going to ask the council to make their decision on the application by resolution, considering all comments received. And noting that we do have an additional number 8 on there as well. Okay, Deputy Mayor Elliott, so moved. Seconded. Councillor Heeman, all in favor? Great. I'm going to advise that there's a written notice of the decisions will be forwarded to designated parties, and that there's a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision. If you wish to be notified of the decision with respect to this application, you must submit a written request to the clerk. The clerk's email address is included on the online agenda. All right. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Medeiros. Nice to see you.
Take care.
Now we're moving on to public meeting for zoning applications at 621. And the purpose of this public meeting is to consider a zoning bylaw amendment as submitted by 1817525 Ontario Incorporated, the agent being Greg Terrace. The property location is 4008 Dundas Street. And I'm going to ask our planning director to provide an overview of the application and planning recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is an application to rezone the subject property to add an additional permitted use in the form of a convenience store, which is otherwise prohibited under the current zoning of the lands. The subject property, it's just over 2 acres in size, and it's located on the north side of Dundas Street, just east of, actually it should say west. It is west of Missouri Road. The lands contain a gas bar with a canopy and kiosk, along with a commercial building. And the site is serviced by a private well and septic system. The lands are designated highway commercial under the official plan, and they're also zoned for highway commercial purposes. So the applicant, they're proposing to renovate the property through the replacement of the gas bar canopy and the removal of the gas bar kiosk, with the establishment of a convenience store within the existing commercial building. And as previously noted, under the highway commercial zone, a convenience store is not listed as permitted use, hence they need a rezoning. I've conducted my analysis, Your Worship, and although the lands are situated within a prime agricultural area under the provincial policy statement, and the lands are also designated agricultural under the county official plan, these lands don't constitute the removal of agricultural land since they were previously removed from agriculture given the current highway commercial designation and also the current use. So the highway commercial designation, it recognizes legacy commercial areas that are located outside of designated settlement areas, which is the case here. Furthermore, this application meets the evaluation criteria noted under the official plan dealing with the evaluation of zoning bylaw amendments. And that explanation is all noted in my report. So in all, this rezoning would be consistent with provincial policy and in conformity with the county's official plan and the Thames Center official plan. In terms of comments received in the circulation of the application, Your Worship, no issues were identified by Canadian Pacific Railway, the county engineer, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and our drainage superintendent. Lastly, our chief building official. He has noted that a building permit will be required. He also notes that the septic system will need to be reviewed and assessed by a qualified designer. And there may be the need for barrier-free requirements to be addressed to ensure conformity with the Ontario Building Code. In terms of public comments, no submissions have been received from the public. And it's my recommendation, Your Worship, that the rezoning application be approved in principle and that I be given direction to prepare the amendment for council's consideration at the next regular meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bancroft. Alan, do we have an applicant or agent that's coming on screen?
Yes, Your Worship, we have Greg Taras and we have a Usman Lalba.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Welcome.
Worship, members of council. I just want to say we agree with the planning report prepared by the planning director and his presentation. We really have nothing further to add.
Yeah, he's usually pretty thorough, isn't he, Greg?
Very thorough, and we've had a couple discussions already. So
great, thank you. So any members from the public in attendance who have questions?
Yes, Your Worship. I'm bringing through Jin Wu.
Thank you.
There's a possibility that Jin Wu is away from their desk at the moment, so I'm going to bring in a Yusuf Patel.
Thank you.
if I may, Your Worship, Mr. Patel is the applicant.
Yusuf Patel is the applicant?
Yes.
So, okay. So he would have spoken just a minute ago if he had any additional information. So I guess we're just waiting for Mr. Yu to come back because he would be the members of the public who have questions. So I guess Alan will wait for Mr. Wu. Welcome, Mr. Patel.
Your Worship, it's my opinion that if Jin Wu is going to connect, they would have already.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to assume that he's no longer available. And I'm going to ask council members if you have any comments or questions regarding this application. Seeing none, I'm going to advise that the public meeting portion for this application has been completed and ask council to make their decision on the application by resolution, considering all comments received. Councillor Heeman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Elliott. All in favor? Okay. And then council decision is attached. And I'm advised that written notice of the decision will be forwarded to designated parties and that there's a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision. If you wish to be notified of the decision with respect to this application, you must submit a written request to the clerk. The clerk's email address is included to the online agenda. All right, thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
So now we have a public meeting for zoning application Z821, and that the purpose of this public meeting is to consider a zoning bylaw amendment as submitted by the applicant, which is 1307918 Ontario Limited, care of Helen Wilson. The property location being 230 King Street in Thorndale. I'm going to ask our planning director to provide an overview of application and planning recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this application is a request to change the zoning of the property to allow the redevelopment of an existing building for residential purposes, limited to the rear portion of the main floor, which is otherwise not permitted under current zoning. This property is approximately 0.2 acres in size, and it's located on the north side of King Street, east of the CN tracks in the village of Thorndale. This property contains a single detached dwelling, which was used as an office by the previous owner. And this property is also serviced by municipal water and a private septic system. The lands are designated general commercial under the official plan, and they're zoned for commercial purposes under the GC1 category. So in terms of the specifics of the development proposed, the applicant wishes to convert the main floor of the building, limited to the rear portion for residential purposes, to a maximum floor area of 55 square meters. The remainder of the main floor, being the front portion of the building, would be retained for commercial purposes, having a floor area of approximately 44 square meters. The existing zoning allows for a wide range of commercial uses and limits residential uses to one accessory apartment dwelling to be located above the first floor. So if approved, the building would accommodate 2 dwelling units, which would extend to the second floor, along with commercial development at the front portion of the ground floor of the building. I've conducted my analysis, Your Worship, and the province, the county, and the municipality's official plan, they all encourage a mix of land uses and settlement areas. Our official plan provides more detailed policy direction in allowing commercial opportunities in core areas with residential units above the first floor in the form of multi-unit residential developments. What is being proposed here, Your Worship, would ensure that the function of the general commercial designation would be maintained, and that the front main floor portion of the building would be preserved for commercial purposes while allowing an opportunity for residential intensification. Furthermore, my report makes note of the evaluation criteria for zoning bylaw amendments. As noted in my report, I'm satisfied that all of those evaluation targets have been met. So in all, this rezoning would be consistent with provincial policy and in conformity with the official plan. In the circulation of the application, Your Worship, we've had no issues identified by the Canadian National Railway or county engineer the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, our Director of Public Works, and our Drainage Superintendent. Our chief building official, however, has noted that a building permit will be required to allow for the proposed conversion, and that a septic assessment will be needed for the existing septic system. In terms of public comments, I have not received any from the public to date. So it is my recommendation, Your Worship, that the application be rezoning, be approved in principle, and that I be given direction to prepare the necessary bylaw amendment for council's consideration at the next regular meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bancroft. Alan, do we have an applicant joining us?
Yes, Your Worship, we have Helen Wilson, the
Thank
applicant.
you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Miss Wilson. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, good. I can hear you. I have a typical rural internet, so hopefully my visual screen is not up because I know.
You're in the dark there.
There, that's good. That's the only way anyone can hear me. I know about that from Zoom calls at Western, so.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible, isn't it? We're working on it. Believe me, we're working on it. So do you have any additional information to provide, Helen?
Not really. I think Mark said it all. The septic system is the great, unknown, the great white elephant, and that this new sewer line is going through on that area. And I spoke to the gentleman in charge whose name eludes me, but since it's going through, it's the work starting in July and we'll be finishing in September. I'm not going to go through the expense of putting in a new septic bed. It will then become obsolete by September. So we're just, doing everything gradually, waiting for the septic to come in, and so I will be hooking up to septic. Sorry, are we hooking up to sewer?
Sewer, yeah.
Yeah, sewer.
I think we all knew you meant that. Yeah.
Yes,
that's good. Well, that worked out well then.
And I just want to say that Thorndale really needs apartments. I have some other rental properties in Thorndale, and I probably every 2 months get a phone call from somebody wanting an apartment. So these ones are going to be smaller, and I'm going to fix them up nicely, but they'll be, hopefully cost effective, and Thorndale just needs that. So there's going to be a 1-bedroom apartment and then a 2-bedroom. And then the commercial already rented.
That's great. It sounds like you said a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom and that they're already rented, but you did freeze for a while there. Nope.
Sorry, yeah, my internet is unstable. I got that sign. No, they're not rented because it's all up in the air.
Right.
The only sure thing was that the commercial front.
Yes.
That was, everybody agreed that it would be commercial. So that I've already got a tenant wanting that. So
perfect. Okay.
It's all working out. But no, the back's not rented till all this process is over.
Great. Well, thank you. All right. Any members from the public in attendance who have questions?
No, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Any council members have any comments or questions? No, seeing none, I'm going to advise that the public meeting portion for this application has been completed. And I'm going to ask council to make their decision on the application by resolution, considering all comments received. So, Deputy Mayor Elliott, so moved. Seconder, Councillor Hunter, all in favor? Okay, motion passed. I'm going to advise that there's a written notice of the decision will be forwarded to designated parties, and that there's a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision. If you wish to be notified of the decision with respect to this application, you must submit a written request to the clerk, and the clerk's email address is included on the online agenda. And thank you, Helen, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
So now we have a public meeting for zoning application Z921. The applicant being 1845999 Ontario Limited, and the agent being Sifton Properties Limited, care of Maureen Zunti. Property location is south of King Street and west of Missouri Road. I'm going to ask the planning director to provide an overview of the application and planning recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is an application for rezoning to amend the site-specific residential third density R3-9 holding provisions to facilitate the development of townhouse condominium, and also the introduction of a new site-specific residential third density zone to accommodate street townhouse dwellings, and to rezone the rear portion of existing single detached residential lots from open space to a residential site-specific R1-23 category, so that those lots can be zoned entirely for residential purposes. In terms of background, Your Worship, the subject lands include a draft plan approved future development block located in phase 2 of the Rosewood subdivision, and having an area of about 6 acres. The site is to accommodate 86 townhouse dwellings on full municipal services. 18 of those units would front onto a municipal street, hence being street townhouse dwellings, whereas the remaining 68 units would be front onto a private internal road network associated with a condominium. So this block, it is designated residential under the official plan, and it is zoned currently R3-9 holding. The other subject lands that are part of this rezoning include lots 10 to 15 related to phase 1 of the Rosewood subdivision, and they are known municipally as 3 Aspen Circle. These are all on Aspen Circle, so 3, 7, 15, 19, 29, and 31 Aspen Circle. These are all building lots to support single detached dwellings on full municipal services. They're designated residential and zoned R1-23. Originally, those lots were draft plan approved and zoning passed to reflect the draft plan. Subsequently, the developer received approval for a red line amendment by the County of Middlesex, with the effect of increasing the depth of those lots, resulting in the rear portion of the lots remaining zoned open space. So again, this rezoning is to ensure that these lots are entirely zoned for residential purposes. Going through my analysis, Your Worship, in terms of provincial policy, the county official plan and the municipality's official plan, they require significant development, including subdivisions and condominiums, to occur within fully serviced settlement areas that demonstrate an efficient use of land and infrastructure and subject to appropriate forms of density. So this proposal, located in a designated settlement area of Thorndale, it is to be connected to full municipal services and would facilitate, by and large, medium density residential development opportunities in the form of townhouse dwellings. Also, the official plan includes criteria used to evaluate zoning bylaw amendments. And as noted in my report, for each one of the criterion, I've noted the reasons that that demonstrate conformity with the official plan evaluation criteria. Also, the elimination of the open space zone associated with the single detached residential lot. It's appropriate considering that these lands are no longer required to accommodate a stormwater management facility. The original design contemplated an LID feature, which is basically like a soak-away pit. However, the engineering design called for the stormwater to be directed to a large permanent stormwater management facility. It would also allow the property owners the ability to accommodate a rear yard shed or swimming pool, which would otherwise not be permitted, considering the open space zoning of that portion of those lands. Also, Your Worship, as noted in my report, I've got a table which provides a summary of the provisions that are proposed to be amended. And I go through each one of those provisions to include not only the requests, but also my response to the requests. So in all, I'm satisfied that those standards are appropriate for a number of reasons. And just to quickly summarize, the fact that these standards, or I should say the practice of these standards, is found, if not in other jurisdictions, in Thames Center, in other existing condominiums, in that there's no issues that have been identified with the application of those standards in those existing condominiums, either in Dorchester or in Thorndale. So in all, I'm satisfied that this rezoning would be consistent with provincial policy and in conformity with the county and our local official plan. In terms of comments received, Your Worship, in the circulation of the application, no issues were identified by the county engineer, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, our Director of Public Works, our Drainage Superintendent, along with our Chief Building Official. The only comment received worth noting was from Canadian National Railways, CN, which has concerns in terms of residential development in proximity to their railway right-of-way. They have noted the need for the owners to engage a consultant to undertake a noise study for dwellings within 150 meters of their right-of-way, and also a noise and vibration clause to be inserted in development agreements and offers of purchase and sale with dwelling units within 300 meters of the railway right-of-way. This is a standard condition. It's unfortunate that CN didn't do their proper review, considering those requirements are redundant in that the subject property, that development block to accommodate the townhouse dwellings, are located beyond 400 meters of the railway right-of-way. They do, however, request the registration of an environmental easement on title through a development agreement, which can be addressed through a subsequent planning approval, Your Worship. In terms of public comments, no written submissions have been received from the public to date. So it is my recommendation, Your Worship, that the application be approved in principle. I should also note that subsequent to the giving of notice of the application, the applicant did reach out to me seeking an amendment to their application in regards to a reduced exterior side yard width of 1.5 meters for any townhouse dwelling adjacent to a private road, compared to the required standard of 4.5 meters. I don't have any concerns with this request. As previously noted, considering there are examples of practice in the municipality with the reduced side yard, exterior side yard in that regard, with no known issues, and also the standard is quite typical in other jurisdictions. So again, just to wrap up, it's my recommendation that the application, as amended by the inclusion of that provision, that the application be approved in principle, and that I be given direction to prepare the necessary amendment for council's consideration at the next regular meeting. And then lastly, Your Worship, that no further notice be required pursuant to that change. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen, is Ms. Zunti joining us tonight?
Yes, Your Worship. We have Maureen Zinti coming in.
Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, good evening and welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the overview that Mark provided. I don't think there's really too much more for me to add. Just by way of a little bit of background, when we had submitted the original zoning application and the special provisions, one of the things that we had requested was the addition of single family dwellings within the zone for cluster housing. And we had requested a number of special provisions that are very similar to what is before you tonight. When we requested those, we actually had intended them to apply to any of the uses, including the street townhouses, the townhouses, or any of the uses within the residential zone. When the bylaw got approved, we did not realize it in time that they actually had been applied specifically to only to single family dwellings within that zone. So that was just a little issue that was not caught at that point in time, but our intention has always been for the setbacks to be as identified. And then the other thing is that with respect to some of the coverages, the change there is primarily because we are proceeding with a site plan application probably within the next month that will also have a vacant land condo associated with it. And Thames Center interprets their zoning bylaw for vacant land condos differently than some other municipalities like the City of London, where in the City of London, the zoning bylaw is interpreted on the basis of the block as a whole, not on the individual units. So therefore, we had to make some changes to the setbacks and to the coverages to facilitate the vacant land condo application in the future. And then the other one is because we decided to have the street townhouses, and so we restricted the uses on that area to only the street townhouses and remove things like the apartments because we would not intend to construct them under that zone. So that's all I really have to add. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thanks.
Great, thank you. So Alan, do we have any members in from the public in attendance?
No, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Any council members have any comments or questions at this time? Councillor Patterson?
Yes, Mayor Warwick. The 18 lots, it's new, it's called street townhouses. I've never heard of that term before, so I'd like to get an understanding of what street townhouses are.
Go ahead, Ms. Unti.
Yeah, street townhouses in terms of built form are no different than townhouses, but they will have an associated application through exemption from part law control because they are individually owned. So each townhouse is a freehold unit. And so they are called street townhouses because they access directly from the street. They have access to the public street. And so that's just the technical term for them.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Patterson?
Okay, and then the definition of a townhouse. My idea is that these are these really narrow houses that they're really high, like they're 2 or 3 stories high. Is that what they're planning to build?
What we're looking at right now for our site plan application would be, I believe, 2 stories.
Any other questions? Yeah, Councillor Patterson?
Just a comment, Mayor Work. I understand the market is a 2-story townhouse and intensification of land, which is really great for other people moving to this community. But from what I'm talking to the people in our community, it's our empty nesters, the 50-year-olds, the seniors, which are 60 to 80 years old. They don't want 2-story houses. They want single floor townhouses or street houses where they're freehold, but it's still a condominium, so they have all the advantage of that situation. I don't think we should be building these 2-story townhouses. I think 1-story, that's what they want. So that's just a comment.
Thank you for that comment. And Councillor Hunter and I might have to say something on the 60-year-old age group, but we'll refrain from that tonight. And any other questions or comments, Council? No? Okay. Oh, sorry, Tom, I just turned away when you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, just a question about, I know that's some of these properties will be held individually, and there's previous talk about condominiums. I'm just wondering how that applies to some of the side yard, or not the side yards, the general common yard maintenance, how that'll be conducted. And again, not a big question, but it's just one stuck in my head, so appreciate your time.
So are you saying, like, is there a common area taken care of by the condo association, Tom? Is that your question?
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to clarify whether, like, on the map, there is a common area, whether, or an amenity area. Are those considered like park space, or is that managed under the condominium board?
Well, Maureen, you might want to comment on that.
Yeah, I can comment on that. In the case of either the street townhouses or the vacant land condos, the people will own their unit, so their dwelling, and the parcel of land that is directly associated with it. Outside of that, the roads, the amenity area, and so on is considered common element, and so it is maintained by the condo corporation as a whole.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Tom, do you want to put bees on the common area? Is that something that we should be adding into the conditions?
No, that's against
Right.
the Bee Act.
Okay.
Yeah, we have bees in our building at the office, so.
There we go, got enough. All right, so I'm advised that the public meeting portion for this application has been completed. I'm going to ask council to make their decision on the application by resolution, considering all comments received. So council, I'm looking for a decision. Councillor Heeman, seconded by Councillor Hunter. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Patterson, okay. And they're going to advise that the written notice of the decision will be forwarded to designated parties, and that there's a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision. If you wish to be notified of the decision with respect to this application, you must submit a written request to the clerk. The clerk's email address is included on the online agenda. Thank you for joining us again, Ms. Zunti. Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Have a nice evening.
You too. So now we move into the public meeting for zoning application Z1021. The purpose of this public meeting is to consider a zoning bylaw amendment as submitted by the applicant, being Paradise Lounge Incorporated, the agents being Riley Ennis and Mike Ennis. The property location is 4193 Hamilton Road, Dorchester, and they're going to ask the planning director to provide an overview of the application and planning recommendations.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this application seeks to
No,
rezone.
what? Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry
Councillor
to interrupt. I don't know what Paradise Lounge is all about, other than what they've proposed. And I understand that it could be a restaurant, and I will declare a conflict because I own shares in a similar business. So I will retire from the meeting to not vote on this.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Bancroft.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is an application for rezoning to change the zoning of the property. It's currently zoned site-specific GC2-3. But this application seeks to add an additional permitted use in the form of a personal service establishment, which is otherwise not permitted under current zoning. Just for background, this property is a through corner lot having an area of about 0.44 acres. It's at the southwest corner of Hamilton Road and Queen Street in the village of Dorchester. It contains a vacant building which previously accommodated a church, and the site is serviced by municipal water along with a septic system. The lands are designated general commercial under the official plan, and as previously noted, zones site-specific GC2-3, which provides a range of permitted uses. So this rezoning is being sought to allow the conversion of that building to accommodate a personal service establishment. Specifically, the applicant is proposing to accommodate a hair salon within the building. And just for council's information, a personal service establishment allows for a wide range of personal service type offerings, including a hair salon, a manicurist, a beautician, a tanning salon, a barber, to name a few. So I've connected my analysis, Your Worship, and there certainly is direction in the official plan in allowing this form of development, in that commercial development and redevelopment opportunities that are compatible with adjacent residential neighborhoods. The addition of a personal service establishment would not be less compatible to adjacent residential uses compared to the list of uses that are permitted as of right that are noted in the table on the first page of my report in this regard. Furthermore, my report goes on to include the evaluation criteria for zoning bylaw amendments, and I am satisfied based on the justification provided that the evaluation criteria has been met. So in all, this rezoning would be consistent with provincial policy and in conformity with the Thames Centre official plan. In the circulation of the subject application, from an agency standpoint, no issues were identified by the county engineer, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, our Director of Public Works, along with our drainage superintendent. Lastly, our chief building official. He's noted no concerns provided a building permit is obtained for the building conversions, as well as an assessment of the septic system. And then lastly, your worship, I have no comments received from the public to date. So it is my recommendation that the application be approved. As noted in my report, one qualifier is that from a legal description standpoint, the geographic township should read Township of North Dorchester, as opposed to the township of geographic township of West Missouri. So with that being said, that this application be approved in principle, and that I be given direction to prepare the necessary amendment for council's consideration at the next regular meeting. Those are my submissions, your worship. I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan, do we have the applicant or the agent available tonight?
Your worship, we have no members of the public or applicant or agents here at the moment.
Okay. Any council members have any comments or questions? Other than we'll all be glad to get rid of our COVID hair once it's done, so maybe they should get right on that. Any questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, I advise now that the public meeting portion for this application has been completed. And I'm going to ask council to make your decision on the application by resolution, considering all comments received. So council, Councillor Hunter made the motion.
Yep.
Okay. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Elliott. All in favor? Okay, motion passed. Mr. Patterson could, or Councillor Patterson, there he is. Good. I'm going to advise that the written notice of the decision will be forwarded to designated parties. Now there's a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision. If you wish to be notified of the decision with respect to this application, you must submit a written request to the clerk, and the clerk's email address is included on the online agenda. So now I'm going to ask a resolution to adjourn the public meeting and that council reconvene its regular meeting in order to continue with its deliberations. Motion, Councillor Hunter, seconded by Deputy Mayor Elliott. All in favor? Okay. So we have the consent agenda, and listed on the consent agenda, these items that are listed are considered routine and may require discussion, but no action on the part of council. Consent items are received for information in one motion. Council members may request that one or more items be removed for further action. The first one we're just going to do is the regular meeting minutes of May 10th, 2021 be adopted as circulated. Is there any other consent agenda items that anybody has a conflict on? Oh, okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the minutes from May 10th, and then also 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4 on the agenda be received and filed. Motion, Deputy Mayor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Patterson. All in favor? Okay. And now we have the reports of department. 8.1, report admin 00421, the update to Community Safety and Policing Act consultation. CEO Henry, are you speaking to this?
I am, Your Worship. Thank you. Through you, it is simply an information report that we're looking to have received regarding admin 00421. This is in follow-up to my verbal report and my report to the Police Services Board last week in respect to providing a status update to Council in regards to the response from Middlesex County related to the consultation process that is underway by the Minister of the Solicitor General. This is in, as Council's aware, we have a Police Services Board in the county. We are the only municipality that has a Police Services Board in the county, and the Solicitor General has asked all of the region to submit something in respect to format of a committee, and that's what the report is all about. If there's any questions, I'll certainly help out.
Council, any questions regarding this report? Councillor Patterson? You're muted, Councillor Patterson.
Sorry, maybe just a comment, Mayor Work. Currently, we have 2 members of council and one community member and 1 provincial appointee, which we should have 2, but so 5 members of council, and we're going basically from 5 to 1. So we're getting a lot less representation for our community, and other communities are getting more than what they've had in the past because we're the only ones that have a board. So I'm concerned that we're going to lose a lot of control and direction over our own municipality with this, what's happening with this direction. Maybe you can comment on this, Mayor Warwick or the CAO.
I can comment. I think we're under provincial regulations to do this. I think Thames Centre is well represented. We know that our community, our provincial appointee is extremely effective and knowledgeable about the Police Services Board and Thames Centre. We also have a board who will remain on the board as a member of the chair of Zone 6, which is the policing area described. I think it's from just outside of St. Thomas all the way down to Windsor. So we have a fairly good representation. We're just asking the other members of the County of Middlesex to join us. And knowing from our own inspectors' comments or OPP's comments, they have the same problems as us. It's pretty common throughout the area. We may be unique because we have the 401. I know that there's other municipalities affected by the 402. So I think, as far as losing any say or representation, I think we're safe there. But I will let CEO Henry join in if he wishes to add any comments to that.
No, thank you, Your Worship. Through you, the report was pretty clear. We do have representation on there. As you mentioned, there is a factor of provincial appointees and local representative appointees as well. Those are yet to be determined. So the report is pretty clear in its format.
Thank you. And this has been a process that we've been well aware of now for I think since the last Police Services Board conference. And it was 2 years ago that we were able to attend in person. And again, I think we'll be looking at a change probably for 2022. So it's going to be a slow change, but well thought out. And I do want to thank CEO Henry for leading the county in this because, as you say, Councillor Patterson, not everyone has had a Police Services Board before, and being able to be the lead and to let them know how we run these meetings and what's expected and what the participation is valuable. And again, thank you again, Mr. Henry, for spearheading that. So we have that motion and, sorry, Councillor Heeman.
Yeah, no, I think this has been in the works for a while, and it is interesting to see the rest of the county kind of come back up to our service level, our level of communication with the OPP. And I do think it is something that is to be navigated, because when we're used to having the whole table to ourselves, it's different when we have to share it. And I think that we have taken some further steps to show leadership in the county. And again, working with police enforcement. And I think as things transition to a more of a data-based approach and a community-driven policing model, that some of the things that we're doing to collect data in the township will allow us to have a tool to further spotlight specific issues even though we do have a little bit more of a new communication forum, I think we have more tools than we have had in the past to keep the emphasis local in Thames Center.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so we have a recommendation that we receive this for information. Can I ask for a mover, please? Councillor Patterson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Elliott. All in favor? Okay. And seeing we have no unfinished business that I know of, any notices of motion? Any new business? 11.1, we have Karen Vecchio. Do you want to speak to this, Deputy Mayor Elliott?
Yes, through your worship. So this was a request that came in from our MP Karen Vecchio, requesting the support of a national 3-digit suicide prevention hotline accessible to all Canadians. I'll just note this was brought forward to the County of Middlesex to our County Council meeting yesterday, in which the County of Middlesex supported this as well. This would be a Canada-wide 3-digit suicide prevention hotline that would also match up to the same number that is being implemented across the USA as well. And just one thing I noted yesterday during County Council was that in the work that both Mayor Warwick and I, as well as our other female county councillors, have been doing with the Women's Caucus across the county, that mental health is a huge concern, especially throughout this pandemic, and having a readily available 3-digit hotline that people can call would be extremely beneficial. So I would move the recommendation as presented.
Seconder? Councillor Heeman, are you seconding the motion? Okay. Any comments or questions before I ask for the motion to be called? No, seeing none. All in favor? Thank you. No closed session tonight. We're moving to bylaws. Council, just please remind me, is there anybody in conflict with any of these bylaws before I read them out? No? Okay. Just because I know there was some impromptu declarations, so I want to make sure we're good. So the recommended motion is that bylaw 41, 2021, all the way to 43, 2021 be adopted as presented. So,
Sorry, Mayor.
Patterson? Yep.
Sorry, Mayor. I'm just trying to, I lost the agenda, so I'm just trying to find the agenda again, just to make
Okay.
sure that I don't have a conflict.
No problem.
You
Take your
can
time.
just give me 30 seconds here.
Yep.
Councilor Main Street. No, I think I'm good.
Excellent. And so I'm calling the vote. So did we have a mover? Deputy Mayor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Hunter. All in favor? Okay. Our next meeting is Monday, June 14th, 2021 at 1 p.m. I look forward to seeing you all there. And I now would like to ask for adjournment. Councillor Hunter, seconded by Deputy Mayor Elliott. All in favor? All right. Have a good evening, everybody.